So once again, hello everyone. Let me just make sure okay. Checking all the systems here. So welcome to today's talk on this second day of our November 2020 intro retreat. So grateful for this day of practice. Yesterday, when the news arrived, first heard in exclamations of a participant through a mic accidentally left on, then posted on our Zoom chat and texted to me so kindly by Johanna. This news of the election. I could not but feel relieved, elated. Close as the vote is, and with all the ongoing challenge, the potential for healing, it's real. Had I been alone, I might have wept. A quiet sense of joy alongside the awareness of millions of voters who are really devastated, disbelieving, struggling with and against the outcome. So much healing to be done. Many have noted the irony that this time of dis-ease, disease, and tumult on so many fronts has unfurled in the year 2020. 2020. The standard measure of visual acuity. What now? What does it really mean to see, to stop and see? What would it be? What is it to live into a vision of authenticity, equality, and well-being for all, including all the earth? What might it mean to stop our assumptions, our personal narratives, our well-defended judgments, and see who we truly are? Were it not for bandwidth variations with all of us on Zoom, and they are various, we would be chanting together. We would be chanting the 4 vows of the Bodhisattva. The first line, sentient beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Or some translations, I vow to save them all. As much as we long for this all-encompassing, indivisible freedom, for wisdom and compassion, actually, that's parallel to this stop and see, this shunyata and vipassana, wisdom and compassion. As much as we long for this, how is it possible? How are we to embody this aspiration? Free them all, save them all? What about COVID? What about the stark divisions, the violence and social injustice, the climate crisis, hunger, the immense power disparities that deprive millions of people and creatures of what they need to live? just to live, let alone thrive. What capacity is there to address all of this? The Bodhisattva vows spring from the realization of absolute capacity. They arise from the heart of boundless compassion, uncompromising oneness, unconditional love. Not just something we have or receive, this unconditional love, but what we are. Original love. This is about you. It's you. So how can we see it? We ended the day yesterday with Sylvia Ostertag's poem, Not Thinking. Resting in the space of the unconditioned. A pointer to this practice. The pointer springs from a passage in Dogen's Universal Instructions on Zazen, this first piece he wrote, where he quotes a rather famous saying of Master Yakusan. Just read this short passage. And it follows a paragraph where Dogen talks about posture, how to sit, the absolute basics. So he gets everything lined up, and he describes rocking a little back and forth, which is a nice practice just at the beginning of a sit to find that spot. You can also rock a little back and forth. That ease of balance. And he even talks about what to do with the teeth and the tongue and the eyes. So here you all arranged. And then he says, and then what? Once you have adjusted yourself into this posture, take a deep breath. Inhale, exhale. Rock your body to the right and left and settle into a steady, unmoving sitting position. Think of not thinking. How do you think of not thinking? Non-thinking. This in itself is the essential art of Zazen. Non-thinking. Non-thinking doesn't mean all activity of the brain ceases. That's flatlining. Think, non-thinking. Think, not thinking. Non-thinking. It's more like not sticking to thought, not adding another bead to the string. When thoughts come up, let them go. They arise and disappear. Let them dissipate like clouds. You can actually come to a stillness, that thoroughgoing sitting, that still state, where whatever is going on with thought is just happening without disturbing anything. Non-thinking. It calls to mind a short exchange from the sayings of Joshu. A monk asks Joshu, Master, where do you focus your mind? Joshu answers, where there is no design. The Japanese kanji, or characters for no design are mu-i, mui, mui, translated as no design, or also no meaning, no intention, no awareness, no plan. Mu-i, maybe no I. In other words, Joshu subverts the monk's question and also our question. What should I focus on? How should I concentrate? Mui, sometimes called choiceless awareness. No judgment, no delimiting perspective, no calculation, no opposite. Simply allowing the moment to emerge as the infinite reality of what it is, the intimate fact of who you are. Rest your whole heart mind there with no boundary, no scaffolding, no preconceived notion. Mui. Just this. Or if you are sitting with mu, just mu. That infinitely spacious sound. Some call it an explosive device. Koan for a lifetime. Not long ago, I heard about a kind of therapy where the instruction or invitation is to come to each session with no memories and no desires. No memory, no desire. It translates readily to Zazen, to this practice. Drop the story. Release the resistance to just being present, to this spacious now. No design. It opens wide the gate of immediacy, the gate or fruit Ruben Habito called, I spoke about this yesterday, belonging. Belonging with a capital B. Unconditional belonging. That level of acceptance, already accepted, could not be more accepted. Just one, belonging. So today I'd like to take up a koan that may help us get a sense, a taste of this belonging. Again, excuse me. Just a reminder for those who are newer to this practice, that this talk, this tradition of a Dharma talk or Teisho, it is not a lecture. It's just a continuation of our practice. There's no problem if you don't understand. No need to listen discursively, really. Just let the words fall on you, and if something strikes you, just let that resound. So this koan came up for today, I think, because of its beauty and simplicity, attributes that have been sorely missing in our national conversation. This is case 4 in the collection of 100 koans that's called the Shoyoroku, or Book of Equanimity. Yesterday I mentioned Master Wanshi, who has that line about, he says, wander into the center of the circle of wonder. So it's this Wanshi who in the mid-12th century compiled this collection, and he wrote a verse to go with each case. And then not too long thereafter, Master Bansho added an introduction and a commentary. We're going to focus on the case with a little bit maybe from the introduction and verse, but we'll see. It's called "The World Honored One Points to the Ground." When the world honored one was walking with the assembly, he pointed with his hand to the ground and said, "Here would be a good place to build a temple." Indra took a blade of grass, inserted it in the ground, and said, "The temple is built." The world honored one smiled. That's the case. The world honored one is a name for Shakyamuni Buddha. Here, out walking, surrounded by his disciples and followers. Indra is there as a guest of the Buddha, walking beside him. The Buddha stops and points to the ground. Here's a good place to build a temple. In his commentary on this, Yamada Kon explains that of the Chinese characters used here for temple, it's in Japanese, bonsatsu. The first character, bon, means pure and clear, while satsu means a pure country. Pure and clear. A pure country. Some translations render this word as sanctuary. I think temple is more fitting, but sanctuary conveys a sense of the inner sanctum, or what Joshu called the innermost recesses of the house. In other words, right there where you sit. The temple, the sanctuary. So Indra reaches down, picks up a blade of grass, and sticks it in the ground. The temple is built. Shakyamuni Buddha smiles. He sees, really, no equation. Here's the temple. There it is, all of it. How is this possible? What's going on? There's a famous line in the Shinjin Mei, or verses on trust in mind, that Yamada Konroshi often quoted. He saw it as the most simple and direct expression of our essential nature, of what this world really is. The line is, one is all is one. So succinct. It's actually migrated onto posters now, maybe into popular culture. One is all is one. That blade of grass, then, really is not just a temple. It's sun, moon, stars, billions of galaxies, this computer, this sound, each one sitting here. One boundlessness. One is all. And not only that, all is one. Raise a single blade of grass. It stands alone. Everything else disappears. Fully expressed, fully including nothing but this. As Bancho puts it in his introduction, raise a grain of dust, just slightly, just a speck of dust, and the great earth is completely contained in it. Shakyamuni Buddha awakened to this one empty, infinite existence when, after 6 years of arduous practice, so severe, he would have died without discovering what he was seeking. So he found the middle way. And then, sitting all night under the Bodhi tree, that night we'll soon be living it ourselves, commemorating it. Sitting all night, and just toward morning, the light of his eye met the light of the morning star. And suddenly, just one shining, everything fell away. Every boundary fallen. It's said that he exclaimed from the top of the heaven to the bottom of the earth, I alone. Just one existence. That I that was at the center of his experience dissolved completely, gone. Shunyata, that word that's sometimes, well, often translated as emptiness, goneness, but so very dynamic, this vast spaciousness. Nothing can impede on anything. Siddhartha Gautama disappeared and everything came rushing in. The whole world awakening. One is all is one. There's a book that became popular in the 1970s. Someone gave me a copy, still on my shelf, by the Hindu guru Nisargadatta Maharaj. It's called I Am That. Out of his experience of this oneness, this non-dual world, Nisargadatta speaks directly to the wisdom and compassion that this Zen practice, our practice, takes to heart. He wrote, "When I look inside and see that I am nothing, that is wisdom. When I look outside and see that I am everything, that is love. Between these two, my life turns." Sitting in silence, we may come to see no inside or outside. I am that. That is you. So, what about our practice? How can we see it? Come home to it, rest in it, embody it, live it. One basic instruction for this practice is in what is called the 3 attitudes. These, like the 3 legs of a stool, each one essential, all 3. They're called great faith or great trust, great doubt, and great perseverance. Great faith, great trust. We really wouldn't be here without it. Somehow you have the conviction that you're able to realize, that you're able to find what you're looking for, because what you're seeking is who you are. It's you. It's nowhere but within yourself. I mean, again, the language of inside outside doesn't quite hold up, but Mumon has this wonderful saying where he says, the family treasures do not come in through the gate. You know, it's all right here. Nowhere but right here and right now. Only now. Great doubt. This is not just the doubt that says, then why can't I see it? Or that hindrance of doubt that, what am I doing? Is this practice really right for me? Does it matter? All of those little doubts we have from time to time. Great doubt, sometimes called the great mass of doubt, is to doubt everything you think you know. Really coming into this not knowing. Great freedom of not knowing. This is, of course, not intellectual. It's utterly becoming one with our practice, to the point where our entire body and mind are like a single mass of inquiry. If you are practicing with mu, you become one huge lump of mu. Nothing but this, mu itself practicing mu. Great doubt. You could say total surrender or unbounded practice. Great faith, great doubt, and then great perseverance. Sometimes called the great indignant will, the constancy of coming home again and again to our cushion or chair or bench, to this moment, to the breath. Even in a 2-day retreat, we embody this perseverance by setting aside our preferences, our aversions, our likes and dislikes, and giving ourselves to single-minded practice, entrusting ourselves to this moment. Rest in it. Don't let up. Your practice matches your true self. The more we do this, the closer it is. It's really this clarity, humility, and constancy. It's actually who you are. So you just letting yourself be that moment to moment, moment to moment. Practice and the fact of who you are become one. The American Zen teacher Gary Wick has a comment on this, actually in his short commentary on this koan, this case. He writes, "We need to practice awareness in order to develop clarity and to perceive the difference between reality and distortion. We also need perseverance because without it, we will not generate the heat necessary to melt our self-grasping ignorance. Our ignorance about who we truly are. That heat with the remarkable potential, the massive potential to melt the boundaries of our own hearts. I often mention this book title, "If you're lucky, your heart will break." Luck is one way of naming that. But this brokenheartedness that breaks all the way open, all the way. This is how Jeffrey Shugan Arnold put it when he asks, what is the way? To begin, we have to accept everything that seems unacceptable, inside and outside, so that we can meet it on the ground of reality. If we don't accept it, then we can't meet it. And this distance means we can't encounter it, let alone examine and realize it. The Buddha taught that the only path that can bring us to liberation is in this very moment, this place, this awareness. There is no other door, he writes. Every other door is a fantasy. Just one world, vast and wide, and each and every part of it contains the whole. In one blade of grass, one pencil, one Kleenex, one cushion. The clear, pure country opens out in all directions. A pointing finger, a body sitting. The temple is built. Your home, right here. Wachi's verse to this case ends with this line. Everywhere life is sufficient in its way, no matter if one is as clever as others. That's one translation. Everywhere life is sufficient in its way, no matter if one is as clever as others. This life, just as it is, just as you are, perfectly fitting, lacking nothing. How could we possibly compare when everywhere you turn, it's you, your own face, your whole body? This is a good place to build a temple. Actually, no need to do anything. Already built from the start. Bancho has one comment. Repairs won't be easy. This temple built, repairs won't be easy. Infinitely whole, nothing to repair. As Wanchi puts it, on the tips of the 100 grasses, the spring without end. So let's rest in this. Just as it is. Spring without end. And find ourselves at home. Right here in our practice. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your practice.